Good morning, boys and girls. Well, I'm a little out of my range these days. There's a big storm traveling north, and I think it's a little to my west. Perhaps I'm just on the edge of it, but it makes it difficult to be outside because it starts raining, it stops, it drizzles, it stops. You never know what it's going to do next. And I suspect there's probably a little wind involved in this someplace or another, too. But I'll just stay here inside my house and tell you the story from here. I I've been wanting to do the third lamb for a few years now. And I told it to a couple of friends. It's a Christmas story, and I know it's August, midsummer actually, the beginning of August. So I thought, what a perfect time to have a Christmas story, don't you think? My throat's a little bit weary. I've been telling stories a lot lately, and I sort of pushed it the day before yesterday. So yesterday I took off, and now I have a little roughness to my throat, which I hope will clear up during this story. The third lamb. This is a story from northern Italy in the Alps, not too far from a place I once lived in Bavaria. Yeah, just a little bit over the mountains from there. And in these mountains, there was a village called Fels. And Fels was famous for its wood carvers. They didn't carve just anything, though. These wood carvers carved saints and crucifixes and little baby Jesuses, crutch scenes. There's a Catholic group for sure. They carved all the statues for the churches and painted them so beautifully. People loved their work. In fact, Fels was known throughout Europe as the place to go if you needed a statue for your church. And so for years, the craftsmen at Fels carved these statues, and the statues went out. One of the best, perhaps the best of all carver, of all the wood carvers in Fels, was a man named Dreet. There was He was a great carver in a group of great carvers. So his statues were incredible. Now, time went on and time went by, and of course, there's only so many churches, and after a while, they didn't need any more statues. And when that happened, the carvers in Fels, they didn't really know what to do. They felt that they had learnt this trade from their parents, their fathers, and their fathers before them, and their great 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 grandfathers were also carvers of statues. They felt that it was a gift from God that they had received, and they didn't feel like they could carve anything else. It would sort of be an abuse of the gift. And so they carved what statues they could carve until their workshops were full of statues. But since no one was buying any, the statues just stayed there. And after a while, it got kind of hard to think of things to do since everything was all around them. Dreet had started making a crutch, a little manger scene where the baby Jesus is born, and there's all these animals in a little wooden stable. Yeah, there's lots of little pieces to do, so it took him a long time to do it, and it gave him something to do in the process. Um, and he was just finished up this beautiful crutch with a beautiful, most incredible little lamb. He found this piece of white wood, and when he carved it up, it looked like a little white lamb. It was just so perfect. He just settled that down, and his wife called him to supper. Yes, well, Dreet liked his supper. And he went, and he was going back to the workshop to clean up. I mean, you don't want to leave the sawdust and wood chips around. So he went out to the shop, and it was all dark, and at first when he stepped in, he thought he saw a glow, and he looked around, but nothing there. So he went over to his bench, and he was working there, and he heard a noise, and he turned, and off in the corner, he saw a movement. Was there a thief in his shop? But what would a thief steal? I mean, would you steal a saint? That's just crazy. And so we went a little closer to see what might be there, and in the corner of his shop, right by the crutch he had just made, there was a little boy. And he was taking the animals out of the crutch and lining them up to make a little parade in front of the baby Jesus. He'd just taken a goose and put it at the end of the line. And Dreet, he was so horrified that someone would play with these holy relics like they were toys. And then the boy reached out and he picked up that little lamb, the lamb that Dreet had just carved and had set in Mary's lap. Dreet said, hey boy, what are you doing there? The boy looked up and said, oh, I was just playing. Boy, those aren't toys. Oh, those are holy things. You need to put them back. The boy said, well, I was just making a parade for the baby. He seemed to enjoy it. And Treat said, well, I think you should put them back now. The boy said, well, I will. And he started to put the pieces back where they had come from. But when he came to that little white lamb, he said, but couldn't I just keep this one? Treat said, oh, and the boy was such a young thing. Treat thought, I wonder if that's that. But he knew that one of his neighbors had a sister coming to visit, and perhaps the boy was that neighbor's sister's son, and, well, they didn't have much over there. Probably he didn't have any toys. No wonder he wandered in here and got himself into this. Treat said, I don't usually carve toys, but, well, if it's a gift, maybe that will be all right. So he said to the boy, you put that lamb back in Mary's lap, and I will carve you your own. Well, the boy said, oh, really? My own? That would be wonderful. When will it be done? Treat said, oh, I'll get it finished up. To come tomorrow, but not too early. Not too early. I might not have it finished. And the boy said, thank you. Treat said, where do you live? And the boy, he just waved off in the direction. Oh, it's over there with my mom. And then he turned and ran out the door. And Treat thought, yeah. Must be that woman's son. He went back and he told his wife all about that. And his wife smiled because she'd been trying to get him to make toys for years. To anything if they didn't have to, well, Treat, he was adamant that he was not making anything but toys except maybe this one time because, after all, he wasn't getting paid for it or anything. It was just to make that child smile, and he had so few things. And so the next morning, Treat got up and he went and he carved that lamb. He was done by noon. He worked so hard at it. And he even made it so that its head bobbed up and down. Ho! Good little toy. And he set it on his counter. And no sooner did he set it down in a little place where he could look at it. And he heard somebody out by the door. He thought, oh, he's here. Boy, come on in. Come see what I made for you. Well, the door opened. But it wasn't the boy. It was a raggedy little gypsy girl with a baby attached to her in cloth and wrapped up in like a papoose on backwards because it was on her front instead of her back. Treat was very surprised. The little baby reached out and reached for the lamb, and the girl pulled him back. Treat said, What do you want? The girl said, scraps, but the village has none, so I'll go home without any. My father will beat me for not bringing home any food. Treat was horrified. Well, maybe we can find you something. And meanwhile, the baby was trying to reach for that lamb. The girl kept pulling him back, and the more the baby struggled, the more the girl held it. the harder the baby began to fuss, and soon it was crying and screaming. And the girl says, he wants the lamb. Pete said, well, I can't give him that one. I just made it for someone else. The girl says, oh, I'm not surprised, but I'll take the baby home, and because he doesn't have the lamb, he's going to cry. And because he cries, Father's going to throw stuff at him. Pete said, throw stuff at a baby? No, we can't have that. And he reached over and he grabbed the lamb and he gave it to the baby. Here, take it. The baby stopped crying. And the little girl was quite shocked. She turned and fled before Dreet would change his mind. And Dreet says, well, it's his own fault for not being here. I can make another one quickly. And so he began to carve another lamb. And carefully. Was certainly done before supper, and he still had not seen the boy. He should be showing up soon. Oh, wait. He heard voices, boys' voices. It was the neighborhood boys. They were playing right outside his shop. He opened the door, looked at them. He didn't see the one he was looking for. They said, "Hi, Dreet. What have you been carving?" Dreet said, "Oh, I made this little lamb." The boys said, "Wow, that's so wonderful. And look, its head bobs up and down." Dreet said, Yeah, I thought that would be it would be fun. They said, "Oh, Dreet, can I have it?" Dreet says, Oh, I made this for someone else." They said, "Would you make one for me?" And Dreet thought, these poor children, none of them have really much at all for toys. Well, God couldn't be angry at me for making toys and giving them to the children. It's not the same thing as making things to sell. And so he probably said to each boy, I'll make you some things. Not this one, this is for someone else, but I'll make you each whatever animal you'd like. And one said a giraffe, another said a mule. One wanted a dog, just like his own dog. But there was one little boy. Dreet knew him. His parents had died just recently. There's so much problem. So that the famine was just growing and growing with so little money coming in. There was very little food in the village. And now he was alone. But Dreet said, "Boy, come up here. Pick an animal. I will carve you anything you want." The boy said, "Well, won't really matter anyway. If I can't have this lamb, I can't have anything. The priest is taking me to an orphanage tomorrow. It's far away. I won't be back." And Dreet's heart melted. He said, Well, I can carve another one. Here, you take this one with you." And he gave it to the boy. The second lamb. As the boys ran off to play, Dreet said, "What am I doing? I didn't mean to make any, and now I'm on my third." And he sat down and started carving right away. He didn't finish that night. He did finish it the next day, though. Beautiful. And it was the best of all. The wood seemed whiter. The lamb seemed fluffier. And he set it on a shelf, and after he finished that, he started making the giraffe, and then the donkey, and the rest of the creatures that the boys had asked for. They came and they got their pieces, all except for that first lamb, a third lamb, that he had carved. That one just sat on the shelf. Day after day, week after week, more children came in, and Dreet carved them toys too. And then one day he heard some noise out, and it was a fine gentleman coming in his shop. Dreet was quite excited. Have you come from the cities?" The gentleman said, "I absolutely did. And you must be Dreet." Dreet said, I am. "I've heard of your carvings. I came here to see what you have." Dreet said, "Oh, come right over here. Let me show you these beautiful statues. Here's a St. Christopher, and here's a St. Anthony, and look at the mother here." The man said, Oh, no. If I want to see statues, I can go to a church. No, I was talking about the toys." Dreet said, "Oh, the toys?" Yes. I want to make an order for toys. I have a shop in the city, and I could sell a great many of them if I could just get them. I've been looking at your toys all around the village. They're beautiful. Treat said, I make them for the children. Right. So you could make them for other children too, right? I'll give you a great deal of money. Treat says, oh, I don't carve them for the money. Of course, old man, of course you should carve them for your money. Just, I would like to place an order. Treat said, oh, no. I can't do that. The man said, what? Really? These are so beautiful, your toys that you make. Why, this lamb is excellent. Treat said, especially not that lamb. I can't sell that lamb. That was made for a boy. I'm holding it for him. The man said, well, whatever. I'm here for the day. If you change your mind, come on down to the inn and see me there. Well, Treat was not changing his mind. And when he went in for lunch that day, told his wife about that, she said, well, Treat, don't you think you've made statues for long enough that God might not mind if you made some toys? And Treat wouldn't hear of it, and so she was silent. Well, Treat went back out into his shop later on that day, and while he was out there, a passerby came in. It was the doctor. The doctor brushing off the snow from his clothes. And Treat says, where have you been, doctor? The doctor said, up on the mountain. You know that family that lives up there? Treat says, oh, yes, I do. Their little girl's sick. She, very sick. She can't get out of bed, hasn't been out of bed in weeks. She just lies there staring ahead. Treat says, oh, that's very sad. Many's the day I'm glad that I don't have a child to worry about. It's these hard times. The doctor said, indeed. But Treat, I'm looking for somebody. Maybe you could help me, one of the carvers. Treat says, well, I know all the carvers. Doctor said, yes, I know, Treat. That's why I came. You see, while I was working with the little girl, a gypsy girl came by with a baby. They were begging for food, and right at the door, the little girl, she saw the gypsy girl, and there was the baby was playing with this lamb, and when she saw that lamb, why, her eyes widened, and her hand reached out. It was the most activity we've seen from her. Well, of course, her father and mother tried to get the lamb off the little gypsy girl, but she wouldn't give it up. And all she would say is that it had been carved down here in Fells. So I was wondering, Treat, do you know who carved it? Treat said, well, yeah, of course I know. It was me. The doctor said, well, Treat, could you carve another? The poor girl, it's the only thing that's inspired anything from her. Her parents would pay dearly for one. Treat said, oh, no, I don't need any money. Well, this one's been sitting here for months now. I could carve another for the boy I carved it for if he ever shows up at all. It's available. Did you want to take it? The doctor said, well, actually, I'm going down now. I have another client I need to see. But perhaps we can send word up and the family can come for it. Treat said, no problem at all. I'm not doing anything else anyway. I'll just take it up there. And the doctor said, they will appreciate that. And so Treat went and talked to his wife, and he told her what he was thinking, and she thought it was a good idea too. And he wrapped the lamb up in a little bit of leather to protect it, and he started up the mountainside and got to the place, and he shared the lamb. The little girl was overjoyed. And some people say she started getting better that day. The family tried to give money to Treat. He wouldn't accept any, but he did take a little food, first for himself to eat, to walk back down again, and a little more to bring home to his wife. And he started back down. But it had gotten very late in the day, and it was getting kind of dark, and the snow started falling, and the snow got worse, and pretty soon Treat was having a real hard time walking forward. The wind was blowing the snow in his face, and it was just so hard. If he hadn't known that place so well, he was afraid he might have stepped off a cliff or something, and he's going down in the dark and through the snow, and the wind's blowing at him, and he didn't notice that he walked up on somebody. when he realized it and looked, he was so surprised. For the person he had wandered upon was that little boy he had met in his shops all those months ago. And the boy was staring at Dreet with a big smile on his face. He seemed to be glowing, and he says, Dreet, where's my lamb? Dreet said, I can't believe I met you out here right now. I've carved you 3 lambs, and you never showed up for them. I'll carve another one. I'll have it ready tomorrow. The boy said, Oh, Dreet, I don't need a 4th lamb. You gave me the other 3 already. Dreet said, What do you mean? And the boy says, Oh, Dreet, are you that foolish? When you gave the first lamb to the poor little gypsy boy, you gave that to me. And the orphan who was leaving and going to an orphanage, you gave that to me. The poor little sick girl where you just left that 3rd lamb, you gave that to me. And Dreet realized that there was a glow coming from the child himself. And it got brighter and brighter till he couldn't look anymore. And he dropped down on his knees. He said, Oh, I don't deserve this. And the child says, Oh, Dreet, your wife is right. You've made enough saints. Perhaps it's time to please the children for a while. And when Dreet looked up, the boy was gone. And the snow had gotten less. And so he started down the hill and came across 3 men. And they were desperately lost and huddled together. They said, Oh man, help us, help us. Dreet came over. It was that man he had met earlier in the day that wanted to buy his toys, and 2 others. They said, Can you help us? We left Fels but got stuck in a storm. We need to find shelter. Dreet said, I'm heading back to Fels. I'll take you there. And the man said, aren't you the carver that I talked to earlier today? Dreet said, I am. Oh, I wish you had sold me those toys. Dreet said, well, after the storm, come back to my shop. We could put together an order. The man said, Oh, you changed your mind. Dreet said, Oh, no, I didn't change my mind. I got a sign. And that's the story of the 3rd lamb. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed telling it. And maybe I can tell it to you in person next time. And I got to find my little tripod here, so next time I do one of these story times, I can play my flute again. Meanwhile, you guys have a great day. I hope that if you're around this storm, it is a good experience for you. Some people like the wind, some people like the lightning, and some people like the rain. And if you're a plant person, you probably like the rain a lot. Meanwhile, time for me to move on. I have to go visit a farm and pick up some supplies. Otherwise, I'll be hungry. And you have a wonderful day. Au revoir.